Most people who want to grow their business are looking for a strategy or a hack or some kind of system that they could put into place that will take their business to the next level. Very few people stop to think about the fact that their business is actually limited by their mindset and that they actually self-defeat, and you're the ceiling to your own business. And so as much as it's not the sexy thing to talk about, we need to talk about limiting beliefs. And so in today's episode, what I want to do is share with you 5 limiting beliefs that are likely holding back your business. You may not be dealing with all 5, but I guarantee you're dealing with at least one of these. If you can dismantle one or all of these limiting beliefs, you remove the ceiling, and then your business can naturally grow and expand because you're probably the bottleneck, my friend. Let's discuss. Hey, friend, glad to have you here. You know, most people don't want to admit it, but they are the reason why their business isn't growing. It's very easy to want to blame someone else or something else. Oh, it's the economy. Oh, the algorithm changed. Oh, you know, the strategy I used 7 years ago isn't working anymore. Oh, you know, people are just, my niche is saturated. There's too many people doing what I'm doing. Like, it's very easy to look for something or someone to blame. And I don't even think we're trying to do that to delude ourselves. I think we actually, by default, are looking for a solution, and we're looking for where is the problem. And the problem with that kind of thinking is we're always looking, but we never look at ourselves. And if we do look at ourselves, we think it's, well, if only I could write better sales copy, or if only I were better on camera, or if only I knew how to write a better webinar. And so we might be willing to admit that we need some growth or a new strategy. And certainly those things can help. And I teach a lot of those things to my clients, students. I teach them here for free on the show and on YouTube. But there's so much power that comes from actually stopping for a second and saying, okay, wait a minute, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe my business could be doing 50 to 100% more revenue a year if I just took off my own ceiling of limiting beliefs. Maybe I'm the one holding back my business. Now, that's a big boy thing, a big girl thing to say. Taking ownership, right? Taking responsibility. And if you've never done any mindset work, you may not think that this is the natural place to go. And so you might be looking for, again, a tangible tactic. But mindset is so important. My new book, Rebel, is coming out later this year. If you haven't pre-ordered your copy, you should. Just go to therebelbook.com. You can pre-order it now. I got a bunch of bonuses for you. Part of what Rebel is trying to do is help you live your absolute best life, a life that's aligned with the way you were designed. But the book doesn't just give you a bunch of strategies to do that. There is an entire part of the framework and an entire chapter dedicated to undoing the bad thinking and the bad stories and frameworks that we have in our minds. It's something I call the inner story audit. It's like, before I can give you new stuff to do or even new thoughts to think, we got to get all that yucky gristle out of your brain. We got to undo years and years of bad code and programming, because you're never going to be able to move forward with this bad programming stuck in your brain. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Not the inner story audit, but 5 specific, very common limiting beliefs that I hear coaching thousands of clients on how to grow and start their businesses. And so my hope for this episode is real simple. Listen in without judgment. Listen in with curiosity. Listen in with the expectation that you could 2x your business if you undid this limiting belief. Wouldn't that be amazing? What if you didn't need another strategy? What if you didn't need a killer copywriter? What if you didn't need a viral video to grow your business? What if you just needed to undo something that's there already and let all the goodness flow out of it? So what I want you to do is listen in for which one or ones of these limiting beliefs are yours. There's 5 we're going to undo today. So let's tackle them. You ready? Limiting belief number 1, I don't have enough time. Don't have enough time. You know what's fascinating about this one is I hear this on all sides of the spectrum, from beginner to advanced. The beginners say it all the time. I don't have time to start a business, Graham. I'm busting my butt working 2 jobs to I don't have the time to build a business. I would love to have a business. I don't have the time. My first book, How to Get Paid for What You Know, it had a bold claim that if you only had 30 minutes a day, you could build a passive income automated machine. You've got 30 minutes, right? For one, you could stop listening to me every day. You could stop listening to podcasts. No, listen to this show. It's these other podcasts, these other YouTube channels. You need to stop. Stop listening to them, but listen to me. I am a source of wisdom for you. So I'm in your corner. So keep listening to me. Pretty biased, I know. But hey, it's the Graham Cochran Show. What can you say, right? But yeah, any one of us can find 30 minutes. So the beginners complain they don't have enough time. But it's amazing how the more advanced you get, the more successful you get, the more complicated your business gets, the more this comes up too. Graham, I don't have time to make this change or make this pivot or roll out this new initiative. I'm in the middle of the thing. I don't have enough time. So 3 rebuttals to that limiting belief, okay? If this is you, if you've ever felt that or said that or some variation of that, listen up, because this is going to help you. I want to destroy that limiting belief. And here's 3 thoughts. Maybe one of these will be helpful for you. Number 1 is you don't have time. It's the wrong verb. You make time. You make time. I think this is a more helpful. We all have the same amount of time. You've always heard that, right? We have 24 hours in a day. Although I am convinced some people have an extra hour. They have a 25th hour in there somewhere. And some people, I think, have an extra day somewhere. They have an 8th day a week. If you know how to get an 8th day per week and a 25th hour a day, let me know. Outside of those people that have found some sort of time machine or black hole, we all have the same amount of time. So having time is just the wrong language. I think making time is better language and more honest, because it's a language that involves ownership and personal responsibility. And so I don't believe in working all the time. I mean, hopefully you know that. I am like anti-hustle. I think there's a toxic hustle culture. I think overwork is just laziness in disguise. It's just like you haven't figured out what's strategic. You're just doing all the things. I am not about just like spending gobs of time doing it. You don't need a lot of time. Like I said, 30 minutes a day to start your business is all you need. But if you feel like there's not enough time to do what you want to do, or feel like your business is requiring of you next, you have to choose to change the language and say, look, I need to make more time. Which means, again, you're a CEO, so it's the big boy pants you got to put on, the big girl pants you got to pull on, and say, okay, no one's going to come and magically give me more time. It's my responsibility to remove something to then free up time. Which leads me to my second rebuttal, which is time isn't the problem. It really isn't a matter of time. You have plenty of time. It's that you're doing the wrong things with your time. That's the problem. So when you feel yourself saying, I don't have enough time, stop and say, wait, no, I make time. It's not having time. And it's actually not a time problem. It's an activity problem. The way I'm choosing to use my time is inefficient and unstrategic. It might feel productive and it might be what everyone else is doing, what everyone else is telling you to do, but that doesn't mean it's strategic or efficient. So I'm a huge proponent of Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule. It's amazing how many people just flat out deny that this is a real thing until they actually, get this, write down every single task they're doing in a given day, week, or month for their business, which might take you a while to think it through, and it's going to be really a big slap in the face when you see how much you're doing. And if anything, it might actually confirm this bias of, yeah, see, Graham, I don't have enough time. I'm doing all these things, except for pause. Uncle Graham's going to come in and say, yeah, you don't have time if you're doing all those things, but why are you doing all those things? Because I guarantee you 80% of them aren't contributing any more than 20% of your impact, your income. You could stop doing 80% of the stuff today and your business would just drop a smidge, if at all. How amazing would that be to free up 4/5 of your time and not really see the needle move negatively income-wise? And everyone that I teach in my mastermind, when I do private clients, like they've heard this enough to know that they're going to give me the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure you're probably right, but there's some skepticism until we do it. We do this exercise with them and we go through everything line by line. And I say, prove to me and to yourself that this task that you're doing over here puts money in your pocket and moves the business forward. If you can't prove it, you should severely question whether it's even necessary. Definitely not for you to do, and probably not even for a tool or an employee or a team member to do. Because if you can't prove that this actually puts money in your pocket or is substantially necessary and has a responsibility to move the business forward, if you can't connect the dots and it's very vague, well, I think it helps. I think brand awareness, it's just not good enough for me, right? And again, for me, a good example of that, I don't have time to go into this, but like Instagram, I love Instagram. I think it's fun. Does it move my business forward? There's no proof that it moves my business forward. You could say it's good to stay top of mind. I use it in different ways. I use it to kind of connect with people. It's almost like a public forum where other people can look me up and see what I'm up to and what I'm about. It's like almost like a business card. And sometimes you can connect with people and it can open up doors, but like it's really hard to draw a straight line from anything I do on Instagram, any time I spend creating content for Instagram to my bank account. Very, very hard. And most businesses, I would say that's true. I think most people are like way overspending time on social media and there's no proof that it's putting money in your pocket. Now, your business might be the exception. That might be the way you make money. And if so, then it's part of your 20%. Most of us, it's not. So doing the right things is the problem, not time. And can I just say this third thought here? And this might be counterintuitive and countercultural. And we could do a whole episode on this. Can you just stop being in a hurry? Like, what is the rush? Graham, I want to make $1 million a year. That's a wonderful goal. I'm a fan of millions coming in a year as well. But what's the rush? Why does it have to happen this year? Why does it even have to happen in the next 3 years? Have you ever asked yourself, like, do I need to be going this fast? What is the darn hurry? We live in a culture that tells us what we should want. That's if that's not weird to begin with, we got to stop there. It's like the culture's telling us this is what you should want. You should want a 7-figure business. Really? Do I need a 7-figure business to thrive and have a great lifestyle? You don't. I didn't have a 7-figure business until 9 years into being an entrepreneur. Some might call it that I'm not smart enough, or I wasn't as aggressive enough, or I didn't have what it takes. I didn't ever think I wanted a 7-figure business. That was like way too much money for me to even understand what it's like, bro, like if I made $200,000 a year, I'd be a king in my world. Like I didn't need much. But also I'm just not in a hurry. So the world tells you what you should want. You should want $1 million a year. And then the second thing it tells you is you should want it now. And you should have it now. And if you don't have it now, what's wrong with you? Either explicitly they tell you that or it's implied. And I just want to be a voice of reason in your ear and saying, why are you in such a hurry? I love your goal. Whatever your goal is, you have every right to want that. But why did you choose that timetable? Why did you put that timetable on it? Whatever that is. It's arbitrary. A lot of our goals are arbitrary, but I think we put too much pressure on ourselves. One of the early investors in Facebook, Chamath Palihapitiya, has this great line. He said this in an interview one time and it blew my mind. He was talking to a bunch of young startups or people that wanted to start companies. And he says, the faster you build a company, that is the half-life. It will get destroyed in the same amount of time. And his point in this moment in a Q&A session was, what's the rush? If you build this thing up, it skyrockets in a year, like it's going to be destroyed in a year. But if you build a business like an Amazon that just was slow, like if you go back in time and look at how Jeff Bezos and the whole crew built Amazon from the mid-90s, it was very methodical and slow. Very slow. Now, it got successful and it got huge, but like compared to what it is today, it wasn't doing anything close to that. It was just this slow, like, let's build it right so it can last. I don't want you to burn out. I want you to last, because that's the beauty of this game is you will make more money and impact more people if you just stay in it long enough, stay in the arena long enough, but you won't if you're in a hurry. So if you're saying you don't have enough time, maybe it's just because you're going too fast. You need to slow down and not be in such a hurry to launch that product. Maybe you don't need to launch that this month or this year. Maybe you don't need to have that funnel completed in the next 6 months. Maybe you don't need to have a podcast launched that soon when you already have a YouTube channel. What's the hurry? So that's limiting belief number 1. I don't have enough time. Let's move through these. Limiting belief number 2. I don't have enough resources. I would love to scale my business, Graham, but I just don't have the money. I don't have the connections. I don't have the right tool. camera, my lighting, microphone. I don't have a good office space, whatever it is, right? So this is super common. We've all done this. If I had X, then I'd be able to do Y, right? That's kind of what we think about. So in this, I see this too with companies that want to scale and like go from solopreneur to having a team. Like, Graham, I would love to, but like I don't have the money to hire team members. I don't have enough resources. So here's 3 thoughts. Ask yourself why. Why do you need that thing? Why do you think you need that software? Why do you think you need that employee? Why do you think you need that business loan or line of credit? You might have a legitimate reason, but you better know that it's a legitimate reason. You got to ask yourself why. Because a lot of times we're wanting or thinking we need a resource because other people have it, and we think that it's necessary. Well, she's got a team and she's doing, multi-6 figures. Maybe I need a team to do that. His videos look amazing. Maybe I need to get the same equipment so my videos look amazing. So this is the second thought is, do you care more about image or profit? Like, I don't know if it's just my weirdo personality, but I've never really cared like how glitzy or amazing or professional things look. Now, I've always wanted a baseline of like, you gotta be able to hear me and see me. But just friend, if you want to see how I started, go to YouTube and look up The Recording Revolution. That's my other YouTube channel, my first business. Click on videos and sort from oldest to newest. And look at the very first video I posted and then just laugh at me. Just laugh at me. You can snicker. There's just so much wrong with that video. It was shot on a camcorder. It's not an HD. Even though HD cameras existed. I'm not that old. I just didn't have one. It was shot in my home office at night. And the only lighting I had was a lamp that I put behind me like a freaking idiot. So the back of my neck is lit up. I'm in the shadow, basically. I'm standing, it's all grainy and dark. And then my neck looks really huge. And this is my own, I don't know what I was eating back then. So I didn't look great. And then on top of that, I look like a serial killer because I'm like staring into the camera with this glazed over look in my eyes, like a deer in the headlights, because I literally am trying to think about what I'm going to say next while I say it. And I've never experienced talking to a camera before. That's how I started. That video led me to building $1 million a year business. And then now I've done it a second time. But that's how I started. Friend, I started with $50. That's how I started my business. I don't care about image. I care about making a profit and making an impact. So you just really got to be real honest with yourself. Is this just because you want to feel good about the way your stuff looks? I'll tell you one thing. There is a lot of shiny looking websites and Instagram profiles, people that ain't making money, or they're certainly not making very much, or whatever money they are making, they're stressed out of their minds. I sleep really well at night because I focus on making a profit. So I spend as little as possible. Not because I'm cheap. I spend a lot of money on things that I value, but for me, it's very mathematical and cold and calculated when it comes to business. It's very simple. Only spend what you need to. Only spend what you need to. And then the last thought is you could have this mantra, never pay for stuff. If you're starting out, especially, don't pay for stuff. And I know other people are like, bet on yourself, invest in yourself. If you're starting, make it a game to see how can I make money first off of the free stuff and then take some of that profit to pay for the business growth, right? So I put 50 of my own dollars into my business way back in 2009. That was to buy a domain name and some, economy GoDaddy blog hosting, and probably to establish my LLC in the state of Florida. $50 or whatever. That was my first month. It was $50. That's what I put into it. I haven't put any money into my businesses for 15 years almost. I turned $50 into now tens of millions of dollars. So that's what I would say is just make money first for free somehow, and then use your profits to pay for the other things so that you can grow your business. So if you ever said, I don't have enough resources, is that you? Been there, done that too. Limiting belief number 3. This one's tough. I am not an expert, or I am not credible enough. This is especially true with beginners, but I have found this to be true for myself and other clients when you expand or pivot. So imagine me going from, like when I started the recording revolution, I was like, I'm not an audio expert. I mean, I've been doing it for years and I actually have a degree in audio engineering, but for whatever reason, I was like, I'm not a audio professor. I don't have huge credits to my name. Like the bands I was recording and producing were all indie artists that you've never heard of. Like, so I very much felt like I'm not credible enough to start a YouTube channel on this stuff. And there was no one championing me and telling me, yeah, you can do it. I didn't have a me back then. And then when I made the pivot to business coaching, I was like, I'm just a music guy. Like, I'm not a business coach. Yeah, I've made a lot of money online, but am I credible enough? Am I a business expert? Like that was a language. Same thing happened again when I wanted to write a book. I was like, I'm not an author. Why? Like, am I credible enough to get a book deal and become an author? When I wanted to get on more stages, I'm not a speaker. Like it comes up every time you want to grow and scale. So you might be successful, but there's the next level, the next stage you're meant to go to, and you're holding yourself back and harming all the people that you want to help by not doing it because you're like, I'm not an expert enough. I'm not credible enough. Okay. 3 thoughts. Number 1, stop comparing yourself to others. I did an entire episode on why you should ignore your competition. It's really an episode about comparison. There's a lot of strategic reasons why you should ignore the competition. But just, friend, can we just stop? Like, other people have nothing to do with your business. Like, literally, you can't tell me that anything anyone else is doing has any relevance to what you're doing. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they charge. It doesn't matter what their pedigree is. It doesn't matter what their website looks like. It doesn't matter what their content strategies is. What other people do will never have anything to do with what you do. Because they don't even know you exist. They don't care about you. They're living their life. You have to take ownership for your life. So, friend, comparing yourself, meaning, well, I'm not as credible as her. Her credibility has nothing to do with you and has no bearing on you being able to make a business and help people, which is the second thought, is the only question that matters with this kind of business is, can you help people? That's it. Can you help people? Have you helped a person before do the thing you want to help people with? I just got off of a discovery call with a potential coaching client. He helps marriages. He's a marriage coach, right? I can imagine when he started, he was thinking, can I really help people with their marriages? But if he helped some friends going through a tough time, had them over for dinner, poured into their marriage, counseled them, and then they got better and healthier, then all he's been doing the last 20 years plus is helping more people, just like he helped them. If you've helped one person before, you can help 1,000 people. You can help 1,000,000 people. It's literally no different. No one cares about expertise. They just care, can you help me? Okay? So can you help people is the only question that matters. And here's the third thing is, this is the irony of it, is credibility comes from experience. The thing you want, confidence, because you're credible, only comes from being experienced. You can only get experience if you put yourself out there and help more people. So you have to have courage. I get it. It is, I was scared out of my mind to start a YouTube channel and say, I am an audio engineer. I'm going to teach you how to record music, because I had friends that I went to school with that are going to be like, oh, bro, I know you. Like, why are you starting a YouTube channel? I could start a YouTube channel. Like, I actually know more about audio recording than you do, Graham. I'm like, yeah, you probably do. Maybe you should have started a YouTube channel, but I did. I've made millions of dollars. Same thing with business coaching, right? There's plenty of other people that know more about business than me, but I put myself out there and started helping people, hopefully like you. And when I've helped people, like I have helped people make millions of dollars. I just had a guy message me just today, or he commented on a YouTube video when I was launching my book. He messaged me just today saying, hey, your first book, How to Get Paid for What You Know, I made $1 million off of that book. So it's like, bro, that's insane. And that kind of stuff happens when you just put yourself out there and help people. You get the credibility, and that builds confidence. So, friend, if you're like waiting until you feel like you're credible enough, you're going to wait your whole life, and someone else is going to start today, and they're going to be way ahead of you, and they're going to be loving their life, and that could have been where you were. But the difference between you and them is not credibility or even skill. It's that they just started and put themselves out there. They did a Graham original video with the thick neck and the light behind my head and the dark, grainy, non-HD camera. Like, bro, I just went out there and did it. And it's somehow still helping people, that video. But it was that video that got me to the next video and the next video. And then almost 15 years later, millions of people helped, right? And so much more credibility has come from that because of all the people I've helped. But I would never have helped all those people that didn't start by helping the first person by putting out the first video. And that's what you need to do, whether it's your first video or it's your next step to the next season to evolve in your business. Hey, friend, we'll get back to the episode in just a moment. Real quick, I hope you're enjoying the episode. And if so, please share it with somebody that needs to hear this episode today. It would mean so much to me. Also, I want to give you a gift for hanging out with me today. I want to give you my free $1 million life-giving business formula on-demand training. Inside of this less than 60-minute training, it will help you uncover your uniqueness to build a 7-figure boutique brand without burning out. This is some of my favorite material. These are the things that I'm taking my private clients through, but I want to share them with you in this free training. So if you've already built your business, but it's not giving you life, it's taking life from you, this is the training for you. It's absolutely free. Just go to grahamcochrane.com/lifegiving. That's grahamcochrane.com/lifegiving, all one word. And you can register for your spot right there. Now back to the episode. Limiting belief number 4. Oh man, I hear this one a lot. It has to be perfect. My course has to be perfect. My website has to be perfect. My YouTube thumbnails have to be perfect. And here's another more insidious version of this, because I know you might be the person that's like, oh, I'm not a perfectionist, Graham. Okay. My wife, she says the same thing. I'm not a perfectionist. Don't put that on me. I'm not waiting for things to be perfect. I know nothing will be perfect. Okay, great. Here's a better word that is used way too much. It has to be optimized. Just trying to optimize my website, Graham, before, I put it out there in the world. I'm trying to optimize my funnel before I turn it on. Just trying to optimize my thumbnails, make sure, if A/B tested the thumbnails, bro, if A/B testing thumbnails was necessary, if optimizing your funnel was necessary to make millions of dollars, then I'd be broke. I haven't done any of those things. You are lying to yourself if you're waiting to start because it's not ready, air quotes, perfect, air quotes, optimized, air quotes. That's a fantasy you're living in. And that's fine. If that makes you feel comfortable and safe, that's great. But you'll never get started or get to the next level if you're just waiting for this imaginary thing called optimized or perfect or ready. Those 3 things don't exist. So stop using that language. So the 3 things I would say for you is, no, it doesn't need to be perfect. It only needs to make money. Did you know, this is crazy, the only thing that matters in business is that your business makes money. Now, that might not be true. There's a million things that you want your business to be. Like let's keep it ethical. Let's actually help people. I have a lot of secret agendas in my business. I'm trying to bring encouragement and hope. There you go. That's a secret agenda. I'm trying to empower you everywhere I go. That's a secret agenda. I'm trying to be transparent about my faith, my worldview, because for whatever reason, my worldview is the worldview you're not allowed to have on the internet for some reason. #tolerance, but we're not going to tolerate your worldview, Graham. So I'm trying to share my worldview. You don't have to accept my worldview, but hey, it is a worldview. It is a faith, Christian faith, and that's what I believe. These are all some of my purposes of my business, right? But the only metric that tells you whether you are in business or not is profit, right? Your accountant gives you a P&L statement, profit and loss. You made all this money. You spent all this money. What did you really profit? That's the only indicator that you're actually in business. If you don't make a profit, and I know there's weird exceptions to this in corporate America where you can actually not make a profit and still be valued at $1 billion. I'm not really quite sure. They're banking on maybe future profits, but let's be real. Real days, real people, real businesses. If at the end of the day you don't have a profit, you're not really a business. You're just a hobby. So reverse that. If you're making a profit, that's all that matters. It works. If your funnel makes a profit, great. Could it be better? I'm sure. Do you want to make it better someday? Yeah. But if you're waiting to start it till it's perfect, bro, please just put it out there in the world. Whatever it is, your first video, your first podcast, the next evolution, that next program or offer you want to put out there in the world. I'm sure when I started doing one-on-one coaching, I was like, let's see how this goes. You know, it wasn't optimized. You iterate, right? You iterate. Second thing I would say is stop looking for, I hate this phrase too. Stop looking for best practices to validate your work. Well, I just want to know what's the best practices for these internet businesses and funnels and websites, and what are the best practices for YouTube? Tell me about, Graham, what are the best practices for YouTube thumbnail, bro? Just stop. Just look for sales. Just find a way to make the sale. Just find a way to serve people so much that they just want to give you money. Like, who cares about best practices? My new book, Rebel, is all about this. Do it your way. Friend, you got to do it your way. There are no best practices. Make them up. Everything was made up anyway. Like, who made up the best practices for what's a good YouTube thumbnail? It's all made up. Why can't that person be you? Make up what works for you. Just put it out there and see what happens. And if it gets sales, hey, that's a new best practice that you just invented, right? You get to make it up. So stop looking for best practices to validate your work. Like, I just want to make sure that someone else can validate this strategy before I put it out in the world. Just be confident. Put it out there. And if it's wrong, it's wrong. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Then you just rinse and repeat. And this is the final thing I'll say about this limiting belief is that optimization, this idea for potential improvement, even if you've already launched and you're up and running and you're still like, I got to make it better. I got to make this, dial in my sales page. I got to dial in this I got to have the perfect upsell. The problem with that is that it can rob you of enjoying a profitable and simple business. I don't know what it is. It's probably our human nature, our innate human nature to want to improve and make things better. And I think that's God-given. And I think there's a beautiful thing there of like, how can I make things better? But what I see with clients and customers is it's a ceiling on their ability to enjoy the business they've built. Like, the saddest thing for me is when I see someone who's doing multi-six, sometimes even 7 figures with a very beautiful, simple, automated style business like I have and I teach. And they're so stressed out. They're stressed out about their webinar or their launch strategy or their social media strategy. And I'm like, man, you're not even allowing yourself to benefit from this beautiful, simple, profitable business you've created. When do you get to enjoy it? Is it when it's fully optimized? What does that even mean? When will that happen? And how would you know? Friend, I want you to win every single day. And winning isn't just money. One of the reasons why we start this kind of business is to enjoy our life, like to build a lifestyle that allows us to be who God made us to be with the people we want to be with, just take care of our health, mental, physical, spiritual, to be with the relationships that matter to us, because relationships take time. You can't say you have a marriage if you don't make time for your spouse. You can't say you're a good parent if you don't make time for your kids. And I know there's seasons and everyone has a different, unique story. So you make it work for your season of life and your story and your circumstances. But friend, the reason why we started this kind of business is so you can live your life. Friend, I've been saying this for years and years. Your business is meant to serve your life, not the other way around. It's a tool for your life, okay? So, is that you? Oh, it has to be optimized. It has to be perfect. And the fifth and last limiting belief, and this one gets deep, and this might hit home, and we're going to go in a different direction with this, is I don't deserve to be successful. Most of the time, just lean in for a second, watch this. Most of the time, the people who have this limiting belief don't even know they have it. Because it's not something that they say verbally. It's not even a thought that they articulate in their mind in that way. But their business, their actions, and their mindset reveal that this is a core belief that they haven't dealt with. It might be because of your upbringing. It might be because of the culture we live in. But a lot of times I have found this in my group coaching and in my mastermind and even with private clients, we get deep enough and you ask enough questions and it comes up that, is it okay to want to be wealthy? Is it, I just don't know, like if I'm a 7-figure kind of person. Well, I don't know. I don't want to be greedy and want more. Have you ever felt those thoughts or had those thoughts? I mean, I have. Okay, we're friends here. I have. I grew up in very middle-class America, very blessed to have, 2 parents and a stable home and be able to have an education, right? So I think I was very fortunate and blessed, but we didn't have like lots of money. I had a really generous grandfather who paid for me to be able to do camps and do sports. And he took us on a few trips, which like the nicest thing we ever did is like he helped fund that. And I know my parents were really grateful for that, but we didn't have gobs of money. And I never expected to have lots of money because I was going to be a musician. So I obviously hoped I'd be rich and famous, but realistically, all I wanted was to make a career as a rock star. Like I just wanted to be able to write songs, sing, play. I didn't want to be at a desk. Ironically, I'm sitting at a desk right now, but like in a cubicle, I have a sweet office. Like I feel like I'm just sitting in a man cave. So I don't feel sad for me. And I get to sing and perform every month at my church, and I get to speak and travel and do I get to do all these fun, creative things. That's all I wanted, was to do fun, creative work. I just didn't want to be pigeonholed and stuck at a normal 9 to 5. And so I was like, hey, if I can do that and make a decent living and take care of my family, I'm happy. I don't need to be rich. I just never thought about it. So the first time I had a 6-figure year, after having some fun and buying like a new car, it was a minivan, so don't get too excited. For the first time, cash, and we upgraded our house. After all that fun wore off, I had feelings I never had before, which is this okay? And is this like, should I slow down and stop here? Like, do I pursue more? Because part of me was like, that wasn't as hard as I thought. I mean, it took me a couple years, but I think I could make more. But then I was like, oh, but should I make more? Like, should I isn't this good? Like, isn't $150,000 a year like amazing for a kid that was a musician? And then, the numbers just kept climbing. It got weird. And I discovered I have some weird beliefs that were just they're never exposed because I never had wealth. And the moment I had wealth, I had to confront, what do I believe about wealth? Is it good or bad? Are wealthy people evil? So let's unpack a couple of these things. One thing to talk about here real briefly is something that Gay Hendrick writes about in his book, The Big Leap. He calls it the upper limit problem. I think this is fascinating. He describes all of us as having an upper limit problem, which is a ceiling above which we won't let ourselves go in terms of how much we feel like we deserve in terms of wealth, fame or impact or notoriety, whatever you want to call that, or love. And he likens it to a thermostat in your house that controls the temperature. Like, you know what? I want to keep my house at 72 degrees. So I'm going to turn it to 72 degrees. And if it gets, colder than that, it'll bring it up to 72. And if it gets warmer than that, it'll bring it back down to 72. It's the limit. And so his theory is that the moment we start to get successful, let's talk about money. We make more money than our unspoken, even undiscovered upper limit problem. We will subconsciously self-sabotage and do something to bring us back down to that level. Some of you, the light bulb just went off. You had a big launch or you had a big year, and then you can't repeat it. You think it's that you can't repeat it. It's subconsciously you're not letting yourself repeat it because there's something that you felt uncomfortable about with that size of launch or income or whatever. So this is in business, this comes up a lot in terms of revenue. But the question you might want to ask yourself is, do I have an upper limit problem? And if so, what is that financial, let's just talk about money, that financial upper limit? Where is the point where I'm like, yeah, making more money? Where was the moment that I started to feel a little embarrassed? I stopped wanting to talk about it with friends and family for fear of judgment, or not really sure why. I didn't want to offend anybody. I don't even know what I think about it personally. Conversations with my spouse got awkward. Like, what was that amount? That might be your upper limit. So just know that that's a real thing. Other things to consider is there are cultural and familial objections to wealth or ambition. So the culture you live in or the family you've grown up in or you were around could have some objections to being a wealthy person or being ambitious. I had a client in the UK. We were really trying to help him grow his business. He was already incredibly successful, but he kept saying, like, I think I'm just like a whatever, few $100,000 a year guy. I think that's about it. And I was like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, where's that coming from? Like, you can have your own goals. I'm not saying you need to have more and more and more just for the sake of more, but you seem hesitant to say that. Where's that coming from? Come to find out, he's like, well, in my family and especially in the UK, at least where I live, and I've had other clients in Australia and other countries say similar things. There's this sort of tall poppy syndrome of like, don't raise your head too high. Don't be too successful. We want to chop you down and bring you right back down to be just like us. Don't stand out. You don't want too much because that's greedy. Just be like us. Why can't you just be content and be like us? That's powerful. If that's coming from your culture that you're in, you're going to be living. That's the worldview that you grew up in. So you're swimming in that water, don't even realize that you're in water because it's just all you've ever known. That's especially hard and hurtful when it's your family members. Why are you trying to make more money? Why are you doing more launches? Why are you doing this? Can't you just be content? Why do you want a bigger YouTube following? You might put that on yourself too, but just know that can come from your culture. It could come from your family. So that may not be you, but that might be you. I find a lot of clients that they struggle with that. And then here's the interesting thing is the whole I don't deserve to be successful. I find a lot of people are afraid of success, or they're afraid to dream for success or want success, however you define that, whatever that metric is for you. Because they're really afraid of failing. Well, what if I pursue it and I don't get it? Like, this is me in a nutshell. What I've had to teach myself and learn over the years is this crazy idea that success is just as much of a possibility for you as failure. More often than not, we spend all our energy worrying about the potential negative income and hardly any energy considering or hoping for the potential positive outcome. And I feel like that's very unscientific. What if it doesn't work? Cool. You're right. It's a possibility that it might not work. Any other thoughts? What if it doesn't work? Okay, you already said that. Right, we know that. That is a possibility. Can we at least be fair and say, well, what if it does work? What then? Right? Because it has just as much of a chance of working as it does failing. So why not bet on success? Why not? Why do you choose to live in fear of failure? Yes, it might fail, but it's just as much as likely that it'll succeed. So why not live in expectation of success? That's just a choice. It doesn't mean it will be successful. You're not making it successful by saying, I believe it'll be successful. But it has every much the amount of probability of being successful as it does as being a failure. So why choose to live your life assuming it's not going to succeed? That makes you a bit of a bummer of a person to be around if you mind being honest and blunt. And it's just sad for yourself. You truly do deserve to be successful. You were made in the image and likeness of a God who wants you to be successful and flourish. You were given talents. You were imbued with gifts and a personality, and you are uniquely made. And it's not just for yourself. It's for the people you come in contact with, to impact the world, to make the world a slightly better place than the way you found it. The only way you're going to make it better is if you're successful in the way you were designed to carry out the things you were designed and called to do, to show up in the world the way you were designed, which ironically, if you're operating out of your design, you're going to love life more. This is a huge premise in my new book, Rebel, which you should pre-order, therebelbook.com. Right? If you have kids, maybe this will help you. Don't you want your kids to be successful? Don't you want them to thrive in life, to have enough money and health and love to be able to function and to enjoy their lives, and then to figure out what they're passionate about, what they're good at, what they enjoy doing, how they can impact the world and go out there and do something great? They don't have to be world famous or known, but like, don't you want them to be the full version and complete version of themselves? If you don't, like, got some mental issues, but you want your kids to be wonderful, to be all that they were made to be. That's called being successful. Don't you feel like your kids deserve that? I mean, some days, don't answer that question, because some days you're like, you don't deserve jack squat, right? No dinner for you, right? Like, but don't you feel like they deserve it? Well, friend, you have a Father in heaven, whether you believe it or not, who thinks you deserve to be successful, wants you to thrive, just like you want your kids to thrive. So don't limit yourself. Just go out there and try. Like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Try again. Try something new. There's tons of things I've done that haven't worked. But you do deserve to be successful. You do deserve to enjoy your life. You do deserve to be loved. You do deserve to be respected and valued, because you have value and worth. And friend, this might be a flip side to this, but if you respond well to pressure, I think you owe it to the world to be successful. If you don't fully show up as yourself and be all that you were called to be and made to be, you're doing the rest of the world a disservice. Like, you're meant to impact people, and you need money and health and love to do that. And you need clarity on your gifts and your callings and your vision for your life. And that takes work. But you owe it to the people that you're meant to impact, whether it's 1 million or 100 or 10, doesn't matter. Like, the numbers don't matter. When I think of success, I'm not thinking about numbers. I can't define what any of those are for you, just like you can't define them for me. So you owe it to the world and to yourself to be successful. You absolutely deserve success. So, friend, as we wrap up, which of these 5 limiting beliefs is the one that, like, that still small voice in you just like, that's me? Is it I don't have enough time? Is it I don't have enough resources? Is it I'm not an expert or credible enough? Is it has to be perfect or optimized? Or is it I don't deserve to be successful? If you're watching on YouTube and you have the courage, would you just share which one of those it is for you? And if you don't feel like sharing, just let me know if this was helpful for you. Let me know if there was a moment of light turning on in the dark room. There was a connection or clarity moment that would help me know that this was worthwhile, that it helped somebody. It helps me know that I was successful in my attempt to put out something today that could actually transform someone's life. Because I believe if I do this and this content helps you, you're going to help other people. And so what I'm having is a multiplicative effect. I'm not just helping you and everyone else that watches and listens. I'm helping all the people you're going to impact and they're going to impact. So that fires me up. That's why I do what I do. Thank you for being a part of it. And thanks for your time. It means a lot. It's valuable. Have an amazing, amazing rest of your week. I can't wait to see you on another episode very, very soon. Until then, my friend, let's lift the ceiling. Let's remove the limiting beliefs and let's be all that we were meant to be. Talk soon.